Hello. Let me adjust some things here. Okay. All right. So if you saw my last video, I have Instagram right here, and over here I have Facebook going. I'm just trying to get all interested parties that might not have both platforms, to be able to watch on here. All right. So if you're over on my Facebook page, you can see that this video is card making part 1, beginners. The second part of this series is going to be card making part 2 for advanced beginners. And then the third part is going to be kind of how to put it all together and what you can do with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Let me try to adjust this one a tad. All right, hopefully it's okay. I adjust my other camera. Okay, so this I will show you at the end. All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk about before I get started showing you everything. Okay, so the first thing you want to think about, this is for somebody that is just starting out card making, has never done it before, wants to make cards. The first thing you want to think about is, what is your reason or your goal for card making? Do you want to learn a new hobby or expand your creativity? Do you want to be able to make your own greeting cards to give to friends and family? Maybe you want to sell cards at a craft show or on Etsy. Or do you want to have a goal of being on a design team, working for designers, working for crafty companies by being a designer, or teaching? I kind of do a couple of those things. I do not sell my cards. I do it for creativity. I have goals of being on design teams and working with all the great crafty companies that are out there, or not all of them, but some of them, and just to be more involved with this awesome crafty community. So you want to think about what your goal is before you start, just because it's nice to have that in mind. Whatever your reason, it's good to know why before you start something new, anything. I am breaking this card making series into 3 parts, like I said. So beginner, advanced beginner, and how to get started. The stories that I'll be covering in this beginner segment are tools, paper, inks, adhesive, stamps, coloring mediums, and I'll go over some costs and ways to significantly save, because card making can become very expensive if you let it. So remember, this is a beginner segment. Topics such as like dyes, embossing, ink blending, and advanced coloring mediums such as like Copics and like Zig clean color brushes will be discussed in the advanced beginner segment. So my goal is to not overwhelm you in this video, and I'll give you basics that can kind of be built upon for later. So the first thing I'll go over is tools. So tools that you need to start. This is a paper trimmer. Hi Danny, I also am on Instagram with a better view if you wanted to watch this and pop over there. This is my beginner card making one. I filmed, just so everybody knows, I filmed this also, but I thought I'd just do a live one too, because really I do not have time for editing and voiceover right now. So maybe I'll get to it and put it up on YouTube, but I just wanted to get a live one out there to get it out there and get it off my checklist. Okay, so this is a Fiskars paper trimmer. Hopefully I'm getting text messages. Hopefully that's not messing with anything. I almost went to bed. Glad I didn't. Okay, so I'll try to get to this. This should hopefully take 15 minutes. This is a Fiskars paper trimmer. This is a 12-inch paper trimmer. It has an arm that comes out. And it has a blade here that can come out. super duper sharp. I have cut myself on this. These blades are replaceable when they get dull, which is really handy, and they're pretty inexpensive. So yeah, we have a grid right here that kind of shows all of the different measurements and dimensions for anything that you might want or need. It's got a hard acrylic movable cutting channel here, and it's pretty sturdy. Some brands that you might find, off brands, these really bend and it will give you a warped cut and not a nice smooth cut. I'm sure most everybody knows how these work, but you just put your piece of paper in there, put it up once, and it cuts off. Really easy. So super beneficial to have this. This is definitely a need for basics. You might have it for other projects. I find myself going to this even when I'm not doing card making or scrapbooking. So super handy to have. This nice arm comes out, clicks back in place, and there you go. So paper trimmer. Another essential that you'll want is a ruler. You can just have a plain one. I've used this one forever. I need to get a new one because it's got cuts in it and stuff. So just a nice plain ruler. This one here has a 0 center to help you measure too. I don't use this one as often. I usually do a lot of my measuring on my paper trimmer. Some people choose to do their measuring kind of off their paper trimmer and then move it to the paper trimmer when they're ready just to cut. So these are super handy. This one is kind of rubbery, and it's nice because I can go ahead and like mark a certain point if I want and then erase it. If I'm cutting a bunch of bulk stuff. Okay, so that's that. The next thing that you will need, sorry if my hand got in the way there. Okay, so the next thing are some precision scissors. Now, you don't need for crafting like this. I don't find like the big scissors very helpful. You're gonna want something nice and precise and super sharp. Not all of these, I'm just showing you a couple different ones. This one has titanium on it, as does this one. This is the one I've had for a long time. It's the Cutter Bee by EK Tools. It's nice and precise, super small. The tip is very sharp. This is by the same company, but this one has that titanium on it, so no like stickies. If you're cutting anything in half, will stick to it. I almost find this a little sharper. I don't know if you guys that have used this. I go to this one before I go to this one. And it's a little rubbery to help grip. So I mean, if you look for a really fine pointed tip, really skinny blades, it's probably gonna do the job. So those are that. The next thing that you will want is a bone folder. A bone folder is just a way to score your paper, fold your paper in half to give it a nice edge. So the ways I use this are, let me get a little scratch piece of paper here. So I have my paper right here. If I'm just wanting to fold it right in half where it's nice and easy to figure out where my half mark is, then I can just go like this. Some people do it flat, some people use the thicker side, however you want to do it. And then it makes a nice mark there. I'm going to, if I didn't say it already, I'm going to save this video on my Facebook page. If I can figure out how to save it on Instagram, I will do that as well. So you can watch later if you didn't want to watch now or needed to go to bed. Another way to use this, you know, if you have a certain measurement that you want, like 4 inches right there, that you want to score it at, then you can take this and go right along that channel. And there you go. You have your same score mark. You can take it, crease it really nice, and you're done. I'll mention that these also have scoring blades that don't cut, that can be placed in here and taken out too. So that's an option, and then they're pretty inexpensive as well. So either way, but this is super handy for more than just that. Even if you have pre-made cards, like the card bases, these are handy if they're not folded very well. All right, the next thing is obviously a pencil. You need a pencil no matter what, and you already have that, so you don't have to buy one. And then the last thing on my list here, where is it? Oop, I'm gonna have to find it now. Here it is. Okay, so this is called a sand and rubber eraser by Tombow. So you can see it's split right down the middle but molded together. So this is just a regular eraser, and it's a really good quality eraser. It doesn't leave any weird smudges. This sand part I use, so if you are stamping an image and maybe get a little piece of, a little bit of ink where you didn't want it to be, like a little smudge or something, if it's light enough, you can take this sanding part and sand it away. And what it's doing is just taking some of those paper fibers, kind of balling it up and pushing it away. And it usually gives you a pretty smooth finish if it's not too bad. If it's bad enough, then you probably need to start over. But this has saved me many times from having to start over. So it's very inexpensive. I'm gonna make a blog post about all of this stuff and links of where you can get this. And I'll talk about that at the end a little bit. Okay, so now we're on to paper. For paper essentials, I mean, you can go crazy with paper. For essentials, and what I'll show you in my card examples at the end of this video is what I'm showing you now. So what you'll want is some nice cardstock. This cardstock here is, oh, I don't know, it's 110 weight. 8.5 by 11 sheets. So with this, you can make 4 card fronts, and you can also use this to make your actual folded card. So white cardstock. I also think black cardstock is an essential. And then the last one is watercolor. So this one here is Canson watercolor. It's 9 by 13 inches, where the other two are 8.5 by 11. And you can do so much with this. So that's why I almost think it's an essential to have. You can get it pretty inexpensive. You can get it on Amazon, some scrapbooking stores online. You can also get it at scrapbooking stores, like Hobby Lobby has them too. So, and they often have like buy one, get one deals for it, or 50% off. So it's easily accessible and not very expensive. Hi, Mom. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to talk about is adhesives. So in this whole video, I'm not showing like how to actually do things. I'm just showing the products that you will need to get started. I'm going to show you a bunch of different adhesives here. You definitely do not need all of them. I'm just showing you different options. Most all of these adhesives are very affordable. Okay, I'll start with these. Let me start with the liquid ones here. So this is, again, Tombow Mono Liquid Glue. It's got 2 ends. This is the end that I use when I use it. It goes on white, it dries clear. And then it also has a big rubber end too, with a little output where the glue comes. I don't use that part very often. I suppose if you're doing any bigger things like scrapbook pages where you're mounting or like making like little mini scrapbooks and stuff like that where you need some thicker glue on a surface area, that would be what you would want. This Zig 2-way glue squeeze and roll I use, it's almost empty. It's nice because you can squeeze out the glue. It's on a little roller ball here. This one comes out blue and dries clear. It does dry fairly fast, so think about that if you're needing to put lots of little dots all over something. It does dry pretty quick. This multimedia mat I use a lot. You can use it for more than just paper, so it's almost kind of an advanced beginner segment thing, but I wanted to show you here because it's pretty inexpensive. It's easy to use. I put a different tip on the end of mine to give it a really precise small knot that comes out. So that's my Ranger. Okay, and then this one too. This is the oldie but a goodie if you have scrapbooked. before you know what this is. So you just pull it out, the little sticky square comes out, you put it down on your paper, and then you can put your other paper on top. So those still exist, I think. These two I go to more often here. These are dot glue runners, and so these are like tape runners. That's kind of what they call them. These two have little tiny mini dots that come out when you do it. I'll try to show you on here. So you can see little dots there. Just the little dots. And this one does the same thing. It's just a different brand. This one's AdTech. This one's a Hermie one. What's it called? Let me get my other thing out. Herma. That's it. Okay, so those two, pretty much the same thing, whatever you prefer. I believe they both have refills. I know this one has refills. I just have not ever refilled this one. Okay, so those are super handy, and I would suggest starting with those. I have this and got this a long time ago, and this is what I probably use most often. It's because it's super handy. It lasts for a while for the amount of adhesive that you get in here. So, there we go. Okay. And so how this comes out is just one solid strip. And how you get it out is you squeeze that, pull it, and when you're done, you let go and pull up. So there's a tiny learning curve to like getting that down, but once you got it, it's pretty simple. So this is what I go to. It's the Scotch Advanced Tape Glider gun. Super handy, but to start out with, I'd probably go for this. Unless you get an amazing deal on this, go for this. So those are kind of the different regular adhesives. The last type of adhesive I want to show you, and I would not suggest starting out with all these. If you had to pick one adhesive, it would just be one of these. Super inexpensive, easy to use. The nice part about this is if you're putting adhesive over something that has curvy edges and you go over this, you can actually just rub away the parts that you don't want glue on if it gets kind of over the edge and stuff. So I'd go for those. One other fun thing to have are these 3D foam adhesive pieces. You just pop them out, put them on the back of something, and it gives it a little bit of a lift and makes it I'll just stand up a little bit more. So they're super fun to use. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Some come in sheets. You can get them in rolls, all different kinds. So those are definitely fun. Not necessary, but definitely fun to use, and pretty darn inexpensive too. Okay, so that's it for adhesives. Hopefully this isn't overwhelming any beginners. At the end, I'll kind of go over, you know, just the ones that you'll want. Okay, so the next part is inks. So the two inks, well, these are the two inks that I'd recommend. Really, I just recommend this one. So this is VersaFine and Black Onyx. This is how it opens. It just stays connected. Black ink, dark black ink. The super nice thing about this is it gives fine little detailed stamps just such nice crisp clean edges. It doesn't bleed at all, it stays put. So this works great with most color mediums. The one thing that it does not go well with are alcohol markers or alcohol inks. But I'm not going to talk about alcohol inks in this video, but the one thing that you can do to make it okay, and the one thing that I always do to make it okay with alcohol inks, is embossing, which I'm also not going to talk about in this video. But I really like this ink. This is my go-to ink. This one right here is Memento in Tuxedo Black. And I forgot to say, so this is a pigmented ink, so it stays a little bit wet for a little while, making it embossable. This Memento dries a lot faster. just another black ink. And this does work fine with alcohol inks, watercolors, all that type of stuff. As is, you don't have to do anything to it. The one thing that I have been struggling with this Memento ink is getting nice, smooth, crisp edges when I'm stamping. I bought a new one and I'm still having the same issue that I've always had with it. So, I mean, I see a lot of people use it all the time and recommend it, but it's not my favorite. You could give it a try and see, but I definitely recommend VersaFine. The other ink that I would recommend, well, that I would suggest trying, that I'm going to try at some point, it's called Amalgam Ink by Gina K Designs. That's an ink that has recently come out, I believe. And that's good for everything how it is. It seems to have nice, clean, crisp edges. It works for watercolors. It works for Copics. It works for regular markers. So that's something that I want to try and see how it is. But I have not personally used it yet. But I just wanted to mention that one too. But out of all those, I would just choose that VersaFine. Okay, so there's many other inks, but I'm not going to go into any of those with this basics part. Oops. Okay, I don't know if anything happened with the Facebook thing. It just had an alert. Hopefully not. Anyways, let me keep going here. So the next part is the fun part, is stamps. So there's so many stamps out there, so many stamp companies, so many choices, and you can really get overwhelmed. So some things that you want to think about when you're getting stamps is what type of cards, what type of images do you like? What kind sparks joy for you? What kind do you enjoy getting? What kind do you enjoy making? And what I mean by that is, do you like the cutesy kind? Do you like the fun punny kind? Do you like the more elegant kind? Do you like floral cards? And that might kind of help drive you in a direction of what type of stamps that you want to get. Now, when you're looking at stamps, there's 3 different types of stamps that you can get. The first type here, which is the original, the OG of stamps, and that's the red rubber mounted onto a block of wood. So they always give off nice, clean, crisp images. When you stamp, they're nice and solid all over. You don't get, smudging if you're pushing too hard. So that's what all these ones are. They clean up great. Sometimes you'll get stains, but it's fine. It doesn't transfer back over to the paper. So yeah, and they have a little bit of foam in between the stamp and the wood, and that kind of gives it its little cush there. So that's the red rubber wood-mounted stamps. Then we have the red rubber cling stamps. You don't see these ones as often, but they are out there. So this is kind of what they look like. They have a little bit of a stick on that side, and it's got the same foam there, and then the red rubber. And what you do with those is you have these acrylic blocks that I'll talk about in a second, and you put them onto there. Give it a little push, and it'll stay stuck. So you can stamp, and you can see right where your image is going to go on your paper. So I do not have a lot of these, but I mention these because you see them out there. All right. And they're very good quality too. They're just not as common. Okay, and then the last kind is the clear the clear stamps here. So these are the ones that you see a lot. Most often, I think they're more cost effective than the wooden ones because you're getting a lot of stamps on a sheet. They don't have the woods. They're not as bulky. Don't take up as much space. So that makes it pretty nice. Okay. So with these and those other cling ones, what you need to stamp are these acrylic blocks. They're nice and clear so you can see right through and see where your image is stamping. They come in all different sizes. Whatever you need, they'll have it. There's big ones. You can see here, Some of them have like little grid lines on it so you can match up your lines really nice. So those are the acrylic blocks. And you can find them, a lot of times you'll find them in like a set of like a large one and a small one, or a couple different ones. So yeah, so that's that. But then I just want to show you, you know, some of the different genres of stamps. So you have like your kind of more cutesy ones and punny ones. They have a lot of sayings on it with the images. There's another one. And seasonal ones too, if you're wanting to do seasonal cards. There's Christmas ones that are cutesy, and there's Christmas ones that are elegant, and everything in between. And then we have kind of the more florally types here. Here's one that you can kind of like build wreaths or build like floral arrangements on your card with these. And then we have, here's another cutesy one. And then sentiments too, you'll want to think about that. This one kind of has all those odd holidays listed on here. That's kind of why I wanted it. I wish they had Happy Groundhog's Day though. That'd be fun. And then sentiments too. This one's nice here from Hero Arts. It just kind of gives a broad selection of different phrases. So like thinking of you, you did it, sending warm fuzzies, congratulations, sorry for your loss, thanks, happy anniversary, just saying hello, you're the best, just a note, I'm sorry. So that's nice too, to kind of have a wide range, and you can kind of go to that with any, you know, plain stamp set that you have. So there's that. All right, and then the last one I want to show you are kind of like these background stamps. These are really fun too. And with these background stamps, you can actually ink this up just like this, not putting it on anything since it's so big. Then take your piece of paper, put it on top, and push it down, or vice versa. Ink it up, flip it over, put it straight down, and then just push all over. Pretend your hand's like a brayer and it's squishing it down, and then pick it up. I get good results every time with these ones when I do it that way. And this is just a plaid background one too here, from Concord 9th. And it has some little lines too that you can put in between if you had different color inks to kind of give it different looks. And this one's fun too because you can have a different color paper and then stamp that with black, and it'll give you that black and that color, and then you can take that and maybe do like gold or something like that and get a totally different look. Okay, so that is that part. Okay, and something that I wanted to talk about quick too, if you're not aware, a lot of the stamp companies and designers are getting their products and their designs copied by a lot of like, I don't know how to, like Chinese copycats. So they are trying to copy their like stamp sets and sell them for really cheap. Same thing with their dies, and they're taking like the designers that design for that company, they're taking their card photos and putting that with their knockoffs and trying to you know, market that as that's what you can do with that. And they may look similar, the dies may look similar, but what it's doing, I mean, you're gonna get a good deal, but the stamp quality is not gonna be the same. I've had really crappy stamps where it looks cute, but then when you stamp it, there's a big old mark in it, or part of the clear stamp is cut out or, you know, warped or something like that. But what's happening then is people, you know, that don't understand that, don't know that, are going and buying those knockoffs, and it's hurting the stamp companies here in the U.S., and they make all their stamps here in the U.S., the legit companies. And so with that happening, I mean, it's taking money away from them, it's taking away time from their product development because they're trying to fight these Chinese companies that are doing this and stuff. And if you think about it, if it keeps happening and people keep buying those knockoffs and actually putting the companies out of business these small business companies, if they're putting them out of their jobs, then we don't get new stamps, so we don't get new designs. So I urge you not to buy any cheap knockoffs, because it's not helping anybody. So okay, so that's my little soapbox for that. The last thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is, oh, sorry, with the stamps, one thing that you will need is something to clean your stamps off. I have this stamp chamois from Lawn Fawn. It's about, you can find it from like $7 to $8. Super great deal. Lasts forever. I've had mine for, this one I've had for over a year. And it looks bad, but the ink stays put in there. It doesn't then transfer over into anything. You just run it under water and squeeze it. It works great. No lint, anything like that. And all you do is let it dry out. When you're not using it, it'll dry out, and then just get it wet again, and you're good to go. So that's what it looks like, nice and new, and this is what it looks like when it's used. But it works great, and it's not ready to be sent to the graveyard yet, so I'm going to keep using that one. But I just wanted to show you it. Really cool product. And I'll try to put a link to this on the blog post that I'm going to do for this too. Other things that you can use are baby wipes. Make sure they don't have any alcohol in it. Baby wipes shouldn't have alcohol in it anyways, I wouldn't think. But that would dry out your stamps. And you also want to make sure they're pretty lint-free. I've heard the Costco Kirkland brand is pretty lint-free for their baby wipes, so you can give that a try. Yeah, and there's also products that are like little squares with almost like sponges in it, and you can get sprays where you kind of rub your stamp over that. I used to have those, but after a while that kind of spongy material started breaking away and breaking up. That's when I got this, and I mean, it's just so much easier. And if you ever get your stamps super yucky, they need to get really washed, you can always use a light detergent, kind of scrub them all in your hands, then pat them dry, and just let them dry the rest of the way. That also kind of helps get them, you know, more of their stick back if they lose some of their stick from, you know, hair and dust getting on them. So anyways, that's that part. Okay, so now to the other fun part, coloring mediums. So this section you could go crazy for, but since this is just beginner, first-time card makers in this series, in this session, in this first part, I'm gonna go over just some easy basics that you can get. These are super inexpensive watercolors that you can get. These ones I've got at Michael's, I think, and probably Michael's too. This one Michael's for sure. These are just little watercolors here. You squeeze a little bit out, add a little bit of water to it, and you can give your background a nice wash if you are using like the watercolor paper. Stamp over it, put a sentiment on, and there you go. It's easy. You can also mix colors to get new colors with these, so that's super handy. This was $5, this whole thing at Michael's, so it's a great deal. They're not the highest quality by far of watercolors, but it's great for starters, and I'm not an advanced watercolorer at all, so this was nice for me to start with these. Here's some little pot ones in here, and you can use this side for, and it comes with a brush, and then you can use this side for mixing colors. And these ones are great too. They're semi-moist ones. Add just a little bit of water to them when you're ready to go to color. And then you can just use any old paintbrush you have. I like these kind of tapered tip ones. These are Ranger. They come in a variety of sizes in a pack for pretty inexpensive. These are also super handy. So what you do is you just fill this part, sorry if I'm blocking in there. You just fill this part with water, put the cap on, and it's got a built-in brush right there, and you just give it a little squeeze and water comes right out. So that's really handy too, and the paint doesn't stick. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. The paint does not stain the brush at all, so super handy. Okay, so that's kind of the watercolor part of it. I would definitely recommend some colored pencils. Maybe you still have colored pencils from when you were in high school, or maybe your kid has some colored pencils that you can give a try. These ones here, Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. These ones are really fun to use. Let me get a little piece of paper here and show you. Okay, so let me see here. So I'm just going to take two kind of bluish shades, and you can almost kind of blend them together, which is super nice with, and you can smudge them. Super nice that you can like blend with colored pencils almost. And then like with this blue here, if you also take a white, you can lighten it up. Or give it, you know, like a little accent if you wanted something to look shiny. So super easy to use, very fun to use. Colored pencils are pretty inexpensive too. This is more of your, I would say, I mean, not Crayola brand, but pretty inexpensive brand compared to some colored pencils. I mean, these are the regular like wax-based, they're all oil-based colored pencils that are pricier, but these work for my needs. Super easy to use, but I mean, even you could use Crayola brand ones, see how they work for you. Super fun, and I'll show you some examples at the end of this with what I used with these. So and then the last thing that I wanted to talk about for coloring was just regular markers. Maybe you have some Zig ones. These ones are Studio G and Papermate Flare, more fine-tipped ones. These are fun to use too. I mean, why not give it a try? These, of course, do not blend because they're not alcohol markers. But I mean, still totally fun that you can use. And they don't bleed very much either if you're careful. They're not gonna like bleed out of there where you color. So I would give regular markers a try. Maybe you have it. Maybe you have some fine tipped markers that you can give a try. I totally would. So that's kind of all I want to talk about for basic coloring. I do not want to get into like Copics and Zig Clean Color Real Brush. Or like coloring with distress oxides or anything like that in this beginner one, just because of costs of it and also just because it is more advanced. Okay, so the last part, I don't really have anything to show you right here for the last part, so I'm just going to talk, so bear with me. So paper crafting can become quite expensive, but I've personally been able to save a significant amount of money by like only shopping sales, using coupons for pricier items, and shopping online deals. And that's what I've done to build my collection of tools and stamps and paper and all that. I just shop the sales. I can't afford to buy everything full priced. It's just not in my budget, and if I want to be able to craft, I gotta shop the sales and use my coupons. So to start, I'd use coupons. You can download them on your phone, on your smartphone if you don't know that. I know Hobby Lobby, Michaels, and Joann's have coupons. I don't know about like Ben Franklin or AC Moore. I don't know if any of those have it either. We don't have those around here in Montana. So those you can find 40 to 60% off coupons every once in a while with those, so definitely use those for your higher priced items. Your paper trimmer, you can go ahead and use a coupon for and get it for probably less than 15 bucks. So like your black and white paper packs you can get on sale. Usually they have those on sale every couple weeks. So I also will put links for scrapbook.com, which has amazing deals sometimes. I mean, they have amazing deals on different things all the time, but maybe if you're looking for something specific. And they also have a lot of free shipping deals if you spend so much. And also sometimes on Amazon too, which I have some links for that I can show you, the things that I've showed you today. And let's see here. Okay, so the nice thing about like scrapbook.com is you can find, and also if you go to the specific companies that make the stamps you're looking for, so like if you go to Neat and Tangled, if you go to Lawn Fawn, things like that. But a lot of that stuff, all of those companies you can find on scrapbook.com. So they have amazing prices, and you can find all those fun stamps, a lot of the stamps that you see on my Instagram and Facebook pages. You can find all of those on scrapbook.com, where you can't find all those because they're such small companies, at like Hobby Lobby and Michael's and stuff. You can't find a lot of those. Now, I have seen Lawn Fawn at Ben Franklin before. Our Ben Franklin shut down about 2 years ago, so I can't say anything about that presently, but they used to. So, okay, so now I'm going to show you some of the cards that I made using just these basic materials and tools. So, this one is just using some watercolor on some watercolor paper. Oops, same thing with this. I added some sequins. If you have sequins or something, that's so easy to embellish with. And this one, so these are all like one-dimensional stamps. They're not raised up or anything like that. No die cutting involved. This one I did use the foam adhesive in between, just pop that up a little bit. This one here I used on craft paper and did colored pencils. You could also use black paper and do colored pencils as well. And it's really fun to do black with colored pencils. So with all of the stuff I talked about today, you'll be able to create beautiful cards using all the basics. So in my next video in this series, I'll be covering Advanced Beginner, which will kind of continue on to the next level for you. So in that one, I'll be discussing like using dies and the tools you need for that, embossing and the tools and supplies you'll need for that. I'll be talking about alcohol blending markers such as Copics and Spectrum Noir. I'll be talking about the stamping platform, and I'll be talking about kind of advanced inks and coloring mediums, like distress oxides and stuff like that, and the cool things you can do with that. So that's all I've got for this. If you have any questions or any comments, leave me a message, leave me a comment, whatever you're on, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to help. Oh, so a question here that I have is, can you tell the difference? Do they sell the knockoffs at Michael's? No, Michael's does not sell the knockoffs. They all come from China. They all come from overseas. Sometimes people will go onto eBay to find them. Amazon does have knockoffs too. And so you'll see, like usually you'll see them shipping from China, or like the other day I saw one. Let me remember. And it looked legit. They had like the markings and everything of whatever company it was on there, and they had even designers' cards on the pictures. But the way I could tell is it didn't say, like in the description, it didn't say that company's name at all. So I could tell it was. And I even left them, like where you can leave questions and answers on Amazon. I even asked, I said, is this company, or is this a knockoff? And I kind of let them have it because I knew it was. So everybody can see that question. They did not answer it. So yeah, you will not have a problem if you're shopping the big box crafting stores. They do not sell knockoffs. And they're usually doing it undercover, the ones in China, like, so they wouldn't try to be selling to like the US buying markets, and the buyers for those big stores would know better. So yeah, that wouldn't be a problem at all. I think that's the only question I had right now. So yeah, let me know if you have any other questions or need something explained better. But hopefully this didn't overwhelm you. And when I showed you like a couple varieties of color mediums and a couple scissors, that does not mean you need to go out and get those specific ones. You don't need to get all of them. I would choose one scissor, one paper trimmer, one thing for coloring, one adhesive, one ink pad, and just start with 1 or 2 stamp sets and go from there. I mean, that's what I started with, and you can build up from there. So yeah, I hope everybody that watched this enjoyed it. I'll try to save it, and I might make a fancier YouTube one when I have time. So have a good night.